Okay, everyone, Monday morning, stuff to discuss today, so let's do it. Yes, a nice birthday weekend away for me. What did I get? I hear you ask, obviously. Just a few different... What did I get? Socks. Got some new kind of Adidas shoes as well. It's a bit warm in here today. Apart from that, not too much else though. Yeah, pretty kind of pretty quiet time of things, to be honest. Yeah, I can't remember what else I got. Anyway, I did manage to catch Saturday's friendly against Estrela da Amadora earlier today. Got up and watched. I'm not going to spend ages on this because, well, you've probably forgotten about the game already. It was like 48 hours ago. It was a pre-season friendly. There was not even any fans there. Yeah, it was played in front of no fans at the Benfica campus, which, to be fair, does look pretty nice. But yeah, I'll split things into two 45-minute games because that's basically what we saw. So first half, Celtic team, just in case you need reminding, Sinizalo was in goals, Ben McPherson right back, Colby Donovan, Austin Trusty in the middle, Kieran Tierney in at left back, midfield of Callum McGregor with Luke McCowan and Rio Hatate in front of him. Marco Tilio was playing right wing, Dyson Maida was playing on the left, and Callum Osmond was through the middle. Thoughts, the immediate one when I was watching the game today was Godville Sinizalo is loud. And yeah, I mean, the cameras were, or not the cameras, the mics were picking him up at the start of the game. It took me a while to realise who's actually shouting here in this English accent, because he does have an English accent, but K2, left shoulder, K2, left shoulder, body. That's body, by the way, just in Vil Sinizalo's accent. But yeah, quite a commanding voice. You would not want to mess with him. Seems like a hell of a nice guy off the pitch, but if he's telling you left shoulder, you're looking over your left shoulder, even if you're Kieran Tierney. So that was good. Didn't seem too happy either when we conceded the second goal just before half-time. Set pieces, a little bit of an issue. Obviously not reading anything really into this game at all. But it does just kind of remind you, like, set pieces were an issue for us last season because he did a lot of goals from corners in important games, derbies, Leipzig game, other European matches. I'm not convinced the man marking is working personally, because I watched it actually a couple of corners, not just the one we conceded, but there was one before that. And we don't look convincing. And I know it's Ben McPherson who's run off for the Estrela goal, but I would like to see us possibly look at, going to like a hybrid between zonal marking and man marking, because I just don't think we're set up right with the man marking. One other wee thing that occurred to me during the first half, when I think it was during one of the many water breaks when we had, I think it was Callum McGregor, Kieran Tierney and Austin Trusty all chatting to each other. And Austin Trusty and Kieran Tierney looked quite friendly. Now, it suddenly dawned on me, these guys were both at Arsenal. I wonder if they know each other from Arsenal. And I looked it up, and yes, they have actually played with each other for Arsenal in at least one match. Some friendly Arsenal played against like MLS All-Stars. There's a photo of Tierney and Trusty together chatting. So yeah, I'm not sure if that was kind of common knowledge, if you knew that. I certainly hadn't quite put the pieces together, but I guess it's relatively important that the two players on the left side of that defence, probably our strongest defence right now, possibly Liam Scales, but anyway, as things stand, having Kieran Tierney and Austin Trusty with some sort of working relationship there, I think is positive. Thought Kieran Tierney was pretty good. I mean, yeah, it was his first game, like it was the first game for so many of the players who played on Saturday. So, like, it wasn't perfect in any way, but you just feel so assured when he's got the ball. And all those feelings, the same way when, like, Jota came back, all of those feelings you used to have when Jota had the ball returned, when he returned, you were watching him again. And the same thing's happening with Kieran Tierney for me, even, for 45 minutes of a closed-door game on Saturday. When he gets the ball, you just think, like, he's just so direct, and Tierney and Maida were kind of combining, and I saw enough already in that match to say that when those two are fully up to speed and clicking, that's going to be a hell of a left side of our team. So delighted to see that. Sorry, I'm still kind of on my holidays here. Second half 11 was Ross Doohan, or Doohy, as Callum McGregor called him in a recent Celtic TV interview. They're not very imaginative with the nicknames, are they? So we had Doohy in nets, Raldo at right back, Daney, and I'm going to stop this now, Dane Murray and Liam Scales. Inamura was in at left back again. Callum McGregor did start the second half, but Sean McCardle came in from around about the hour mark. So, yeah, he had Benjamin Nygren making his debut for Celtic and Arnie Engels in midfield as well. James Forrest was the right winger in the second half, Hyunjun Yang on the left, and Adam Ida through the middle. Didn't think the second half was as strong a performance for whatever reason. I think, to be honest, someone I didn't actually mention when I should have. Rio Hatate was excellent in the first half. And I think Hatate going off and McGregor going off as well. I just felt we didn't have as much control in the second half. Nothing major to worry about. I thought James Forrest was, for me anyway, probably our best performer in the second half. So, yeah, Forrest and Hatate, one from each half, would be the two players I would really pick out from Saturday. Benji Nygren looked pretty good, did really well for Adam Ida's goal. That was just into the second half, wasn't it? And I think that in a nutshell is what Nygren's going to bring us when he's, on form, driving through. Not particularly quick, but, quick enough, got a little bit of acceleration there. And I think a really good cutback for Adam Ida as well, and Ida in the right place. So that was really positive to see. Probably the biggest positive of the whole game was that well-worked goal. Yeah, I thought Sean McCardle, while he is clearly very young, what is he, 16, 17 years old, you're not expecting the finished product. There was a few times he lost the ball, and a few times, to be honest with you, he looked like a pretty young teenager playing against men. But I just watched him at times, and I mean, side point, he was evoking memories of Barry Robson for me. The left foot, the ginger hair, the black boots, and it's great that young guys get black boots on. I mean, I just love that. But yeah, it looked a bit like Barry Robson out there at times. But I thought Sean McCardle looked pretty comfortable in that position, real good awareness, good first touch. The ball really sticks. He's got a lovely left foot. And I've heard through the grapevine that, just actually through an ITK mate, that Sean McCardle is fancied by Brendan Rodgers and is actually going to play a bit this season. Now, I know that's very vague. A bit could be 5 games, it could be 25 games. But from the sounds of things, I think Brendan Rodgers fancies Sean McCardle. And again, it's notable that Sean McCardle is basically the only young attacker that played, I think, at the weekend from the B team. I know there was Kobe Donovan and Ben McPherson. I think in terms of attackers, McCardle was the only one. So I think that itself suggests that Brendan Rodgers really likes him. I want to see more of him. I actually wouldn't even be against him being that backup to Callum McGregor. As much as I want someone else signed, we've failed with signing a lot of players and I think part of the failures with Abelgard and even Iwata and McCarthy and Idiguchi and whoever else has been that they've been unable to get Callum McGregor out of the team, because Callum McGregor plays virtually every minute. He even comes out for the second half when we change the other 10 players on Saturday. So I wouldn't be against us saying, Sean McCardle, you be that player. I know we've maybe seen him play in the kind of more attacking role in midfield so far up to this point. But yeah, just say to Sean McCardle, McGregor's going to play probably 80% of matches this season. But when he doesn't, in the odd game where he needs to be taken out and rested, bring in Sean McCardle. I would not be against that at all, but you can let me know how you feel about that. For a guy who said I wasn't going to talk a lot about this game, I have spoken a fair bit. Brendan Rodgers, fairly happy with the workout, I think. In fact, he is happy with the workout, fairly happy with the performance. Says we did some things well, other things not so well. And yeah, I mean, I think you just have to remember, as much as this was Celtic's third game of pre-season, and maybe as fans we are kind of trained to get to the third game and start to expect to see things clicking a bit more, like for the vast majority of like the main players here, this was their first game back. So you have to afford them the same kind of leeway in this game as you did to like Callum McGregor against Queen's Park. They've had the same amount of training time as he did at that stage. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of passes out the park, a lot of poor touches. Daizen Maeda's not quite there yet, but he'll be absolutely fine. And anyway, I'm sure the media reacted totally normally to Celtic losing a closed-door friendly match. Let's just see what the Daily Record are saying. Here we go. Celtic were unable to invoke the spirit of the Lisbon Lions as they lost out to Estrela da Amadora in a pre-season friendly at the Benfica campus. The players were given Sunday off. They'll be back in training for another double session today, and we have Sporting on Wednesday evening. Just a little note on pre-season, and we've got 4 matches left, but the next 3 we've got are all against teams who have already qualified for the UEFA Champions League phase this coming season. So Sporting in midweek, Newcastle at the weekend, Ajax, I think late next week, I think it's Thursday. All 3 of those teams have already qualified for the Champions League proper. So this is going to be a real test for the team over the next 3 games. Section over. Okay, a couple of bits of transfer news from Anthony Joseph late last night. He's from Sky Sports News, of course. He tweeted late last night to say Melbourne City want to re-sign Marco Tilio. The A-League side are exploring the conditions of another loan move or permanent deal. Now, straight away, I know I do Melbourne City social media for selected matches, but no, I've not heard anything. I've not even tried to hear anything because they probably wouldn't tell me. The one thing, though, I'm thinking, and you may recall this, I think maybe only 2 or 3 months ago, Marco Tilio did an interview with Optus Sport here where he was asked the question, where do you see yourself in a year's time? And he, I think, was pretty forthright in saying that he sees himself in an ideal world playing regularly in Europe. Now, he didn't specify whether that was at Celtic or somewhere else, and I think the fact that he didn't suggested that he's probably going somewhere else. But yeah, I don't know how that fits in with him coming back here and playing for Melbourne City. I mean, the A-League season doesn't actually kick off until mid-October here, so it's not like, as much as it runs kind of parallel to the European or Scottish season, it doesn't kick off for another 3 months, and like it's a much shorter season here as well. Now, Melbourne City are in the Asian Champions League this year, so that's more matches for Tilio if he was to come back to Melbourne City. But yeah, I'm just not sure. I mean, maybe he would look at that as just being a place where he's happy, and maybe it's another loan or whatever. But you'd think they'd be interested in Europe, and it seems like he'd rather play in Europe. So not sure in that. Thought he looked all right on Saturday, Tilio. He didn't do anything major. Well, I suppose he did set up the first goal, or was involved in it at least. But yeah, I thought he acquitted himself pretty well. The other bit from Anthony Joseph concerns Hyunjun Yang. He says, Norwich City have expressed their interest in Yang. It's understood the South Korea international has signalled his intention to explore a move amid interest in England and Europe. Celtic yet to decide on whether to let the 23-year-old go. And I think I speak on behalf of every single Celtic supporter when I say, Norwich City, we will start the bidding at £10 million. Yeah, being honest about Yang, I mean, I covered Yang last week, and I don't know if I'd go as far as saying I'm a Yang fan, but I think we saw enough from him in the second half of last season to like have another season of Yang and let's see what next steps he can take. And everyone says there's a player in there. I'm not going to go that far because, again, that's very vague. What does a player mean? I mean, he is a footballer. Could he be like a Celtic starting winger who we rely on like we do with Daizen or Jota or Nicholas Kuhn or whoever? I have my doubts about that, but I think we did see a huge improvement in the second half of last season to what we saw for the 18 months prior to that. I don't think you can deny that. He was getting into more goal scoring positions. He was providing more for teammates. So in an ideal world, I would keep Yang around for this season. However, having said that, if there is interest in him and there appears to be interest and he wants to go, I'm not going to lose sleep over that. And if we can get, being serious right now, a fee of £3 million for Yang, then I think quite possibly you shake his hand and wish him all the best for the future. That's it. Away from the transfer stuff, Brendan Rodgers has issued an update on Jota and revealed that he is unlikely to be back this calendar year. However, the news on Jota is generally positive, and Jota was pretty positive when chatting to Celtic TV last week. He obviously met up with his teammates in Lisbon, and he was pretty kind of positive about the whole injury process. In fact, he used the phrase trusting the process. He's taken it about as well as you can expect. This is a properly serious injury. In terms of the update from Brendan Rodgers, first of all, he says Jota is coming along really well. So it's important, I think, to emphasise this is going well with Jota as far as Brendan Rodgers is concerned. Having said that, if it wasn't going well, would Brendan Rodgers be telling you it's not going well? I'm not sure. But anyway, the kind of important bit here is the timeline. So it's an ACL injury that Jota has. Apparently he can straighten it at the moment, which is important. He's been in the gym but has a long way to go. The quote from Brendan Rodgers is, it's going to be into next year. So we can, I think, write Jota off for our probably entire European campaign next year. If we're in the Europa, he'd maybe be back in time for the quarters and winning it. But other than that, you kind of, and given that he's been out for so long, I mean, it's going to be nearly a year at that stage, maybe like 9 months, 10 months. He's not just going to come back right away and like be the old Jota as well. Like, it's going to take him time to get up to speed. So tough thing to say because we all love him, but next season's a tough one for Jota. I'm not sure if we really see him at anything close to his best at all. I think even when he comes back, it's going to be pretty gradual steps. Hopefully, though, this time next year, we're talking about Jota having a strong pre-season and we can move forward from that point. I think it does just hammer home, we've now lost Jota for the majority of this coming season, you would think. Certainly the first half, best case scenario. Kyogo's left in January, not being replaced. Nicholas Kuhn is now left, hasn't been replaced at this point. That's like 3 quality players we are now without at the point of speaking that we had at various points of last season. We need to get a move on and bring in quality in these attacking areas. Also a note on Kasper Schmeichel, by the way, he didn't feature in Saturday's game. Nothing to worry about, though. The story here with Kasper Schmeichel is that he only returned to training at the start of last week. So they're just taking a little bit more time. He will feature in the game against Sporting in midweek. So all good there. And that's not all, because there was a bit of contract chat yesterday as well. Brendan Rodgers asked by the media about his contract situation, what has happened over the summer. Is there anything to report? Just a reminder that Brendan Rodgers' 3-year deal is up at the end of this season. So as things stand, this will be Brendan Rodgers' final season of his second term as Celtic manager. The update, and there's not much of an update, Brendan Rodgers says, we touched base on it with regards to, I think, a meal that was shared between Brendan Rodgers and several high-profile figures at Celtic. Boardroom people, the important people. But the upshot is that there's nothing imminent here. And I guess we're not really sure about how Brendan Rodgers feels about extending his stay. Like, we don't really know what the situation is there. You would assume that Celtic are pretty keen for that to happen. Why isn't it happened? Why hasn't a new deal been confirmed? Is it in the works? We don't really know. And I guess when you don't really know, conjecture fills the void. I think the important thing to take away here, as far as I'm concerned, is Brendan Rodgers was very keen to play down any concerns there might be about the lack of like official clarity, and he spoke about being super motivated to move the club forwards. I'm not worried about that either. You can have your thoughts about like the importance of having long-term clarity in terms of, you know, the direction of the club and the way we're going. And to be honest, I think that's a valid point. Personally, I don't see whatever's happening here in these discussions feeding into things that are happening at Lennoxtown on the pitch. My point here is that like this could be Brendan Rodgers' last season at the club. It could be his 5th last at the club. I don't see that having a major effect on what we're trying to achieve here. Brendan Rodgers is going to be as motivated as ever. The players are going to be as motivated as ever, even if this is Brendan Rodgers' last season and right now he knows he's going to be leaving the club, which, you know, could happen. I kind of doubt it. I think he probably will sign a 1-year rolling contract extension at some stage. But even if this is his last season and he knows it, like, I just think like legacy is so important for Brendan Rodgers that motivation is going to be high. And I think that feeds into the players as well. I don't have any concerns over like things petering out here or the lack of long-term clarity being a major issue here, to be honest. Now, you might have. I get that it's a big story, and obviously the media are going to pick up on that when they're not comparing a closed-door friendly to the 1967 European Cup final, that is. But they're obviously going to report it, and Brendan Rodgers, this is not the last time he's going to be asked about it. And it is obviously like your manager, the future of your manager is kind of about as important a thing as you can have at your football club. And I get that it's important, but I'm struggling to get worked up about it. I feel like Celtic are we have more important things to be worried about or whatever, like regards to transfers. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers' future is massively determining players we're bringing in, for example. And if Brendan Rodgers is here next season, I think Celtic will be fine. If Brendan Rodgers isn't here, I think Celtic will be fine. So yeah, I get it's a story. It's going to continue. I'm just struggling to feel too strongly about it. And yeah, that's pretty much me for today. But before I go for a lie down and pick up my fleece over there, some of you have been asking about Stevie. I know he's not been on the channel in a wee while, but he is good and he will be returning pretty soon. In fact, don't just take it from me. Here's the great man himself.
Hamish, a very good afternoon. I'm here at Inchcalloch Island, I believe that's its name. You go from Luss in Loch Lomond, a place you've never been, and you get a wee half-hour boat journey to this beautiful bit of Scotland. Look at it behind me. Truly is one of the greats. The reason I'm doing this is for 2 reasons. One, I know that you have genuinely never seen Loch Lomond, which I find mind-blowing for a Scottish guy called Hamish. Please get a grip. Secondly, because I know you were saying people were asking for me on the channel, I'm not dead. I'm just resting. Don't worry about that. Few weeks. I don't count pre-season as the start of the season yet. You know, I'm, as somebody said, a main eventer. So I'll come back on for the St Mirren game. Give me another couple of weeks to be lazy, enjoy the sun, stuff my face, and then I'll be fully recharged, ready to moan and complain again outside Celtic Park in the next fortnight or so.
Yes, Stevie doesn't do pre-season, just like Chris Boyd didn't do moving. But we will catch up with him very soon. And I will catch up with you this time tomorrow.